Dan the Wheelman here, and this is the 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLS63 AMG 4MATIC, or Mercedes-Benz AMG GLS63 4MATIC. Anyway, whatever. It's a 63, it's got a twin-turbo V8, and it is massive in absolutely every way. Wheel is massive. The Mercedes-Benz logo is massive. The girth is massive, about 6,000 pounds, thereabouts. It is gargantuan. And that's even before we start talking about the rims. I don't know if you can see that, but this says 285/40 ZR23, or ZR23 for my American viewers. That means these tires are 285 millimeters wide, steamroller sized, and 23 inches big. 23 inches, that's the biggest I think I've ever seen on a press car before. And it's not just the size, but the styling. It's a clear callback to the classic AMG Mercedes of the late 80s, early 90s, with that broad dog dish style center hub, these short, fat spokes. Love that AMG logo on the side there as well. Mercedes, like this one right here, for example, you can see that rim right there, how similar it is to this here. The only thing is, I'm not so sure it works so well here in the black. The reason for that is I just find the color, this matted black, is too much of a contrast with the tire around it and the paint around that. And that's a bit of an issue because there's a lot of surface area here that gets that paint job, and it always kind of looks a little bit dirty. Luckily, you can also get these wheels in silver. And I was surprised to find that to get these, it's only a $2,000 option. That's not that much money when you consider this is like a $160,000, $165,000 car. $2,000. It's only like $500 a rim. So inside here, you have the requisite Mercedes-ness. You've got the gauge cluster here. There's actually a video display that matches the infotainment display here. I believe it's one screen split into two. The left-hand side can be controlled by this thumb button here on the, or a thumb pad on the left-hand wheel spoke, whereas this main display can be controlled either with the thumb button on the right-hand wheel spoke, or by this touchpad down here, or by just touching the screen itself. So plenty of ways to interact with what is a very good system. Of course, this being an AMG, this has all sorts of special AMG stuff. I like this track pace feature, which actually lets you look at various tracks throughout the world, like Monza in Italy, because I'm going to be going there tomorrow, or Spa in Belgium, going there the day after that, and then Circuit of the Americas and so on. And you can actually track yourself, time yourself on these tracks. Very cool. And if you don't have your track here, you can make your own track by going like this, and then basically you map your own track, drive up to the start line, select start, and it actually traces your route. I've got actually a closer look at how this all works on a video that I'm going to connect to right here. Very, very cool. And then of course you've got all the different themes. You've always had Mercedes Adventure, which gives you different graphics. It gives you the top-down view so you can see when you're going off-road what's going on around you. Then you've got Trip, Lounge. This one's going to turn the music on.
One of them this time around.
Talk radio anyway, and it kind of changes all the colors in here to bright pink and blue. Pretty suave interior, pretty cool. And I was happy to find that, like the wheels I talked about, the add-ons here aren't that many. The only real add-on I have in this is the tech package, which adds MBUX, which is a very cool kind of augmented reality navigation, which I do another video for if you want to see how that works. I'm going to link to right here as well, and it gives you some other stuff as well. That's about it. Otherwise, all this stuff is pretty much standard. Of course, this is basically the top trim this side of the Maybach of the GLS, so you can see why I have all the good stuff here: heated armrests, heated seats, heated and cooled seats, actually massaging seats, all that stuff. It's all here. Cool flat bottom wheel with paddle shifters, really nice in the front seat, and a fairly comfortable seating position. A little bit snug in the footwell here. My legs are bumping up against these sides here. This could be a little wider. Maybe they brought this transmission tunnel in a bit. They probably can, because it's a huge beefy transmission, 9-speed automatic under here. So probably not. But otherwise, roomy place to be in the front. Good view out, plus all the cameras you get, as you'd expect from what they're calling the S-Class of SUVs. Let's have a look at the back seat now. Tons of headroom back here, that's for sure. Just look at that, not knocking my bill against the sunroof here or this. And if the sunroof guard was closed or the shield was closed there, I wouldn't be hitting my head on that either. I've tested that. Seat is comfortable, if a little bit narrow here. Just like I said, it's a bit narrow up front too. I guess that's just how we're designing this cockpit. Got the armrest though, which is nice, but the seat is power adjustable, which is kind of cool, except that means in order to slide it forward, if you want to try to provide some access to the back row, you have to do it via power sliding, and that takes a while. You could, of course, climb through the middle here, climb through the middle to get to the back row, that's okay, but this thing here, this center console, which has a bit of an outcropping here, would then kind of get in the way. And of course, I've got nice USB-C ports here as well, and a 115V outlet, and my own climate control. In fact, each one of these seats, I believe, has their own climate control, so that's pretty cool. And of course, the nice Burmester tweeter here, which I just love the look of, and some nice wood grain here and all the stuff you get in the front as well. So seats a little on the small side, but I like the leg room, even with the seat fit for a 6'3" driver myself. I like the headroom, that's all good, just a little bit narrow here. Now let's take one more look here at the when it comes to the interior, at the back seat, or the third row of the GLS. So it's as I thought. Getting back here is a little tough, clambering through those two seats there. It's a bit of a narrow passageway, which is weird because the seats aren't that wide. So this is a narrow car or something, I'm not sure. Once back here, it's okay. The headroom is good, surprisingly. Legroom isn't spectacular, but of course we could slide this seat forward here if we want a little more legroom. Just ask the second row person to give us a little more space, and that's fine. I've got USB ports, 4 of them, 2 here and 2 here, all USB-C in back here, which is fantastic. I like that. And again, this is a third row and a throw SUV, probably not going to be used for adults or even teenage children all that often. And you've got ISO fixed latches here for the kids, so you've got it here. It's nice to have. It's not, I wouldn't call it roomy. I rarely call the third row and through SUVs roomy, but there you go. The one thing that does bug me though is that getting these seats down is a bit of a rigmarole. As you'll see in the shots here, they make use of buttons in the rear hatch area there. And the buttons, there's no graphic on them. It just says 3R, 3L, and 2R, 2L. Eventually you'll get that, but every time I go back there, I'm having to think, okay, if I want to close this seat, which button do I press? And I'm thinking it's kind of annoying, and I'm thinking it would be nice to just have kind of some kind of a graphic that had like a picture of 4 seats on it or something and highlighted one of the seats, maybe a top-down view of all the seats there, and if the bottom right one is highlighted, that's the button you want to press to collapse that one, and so on. So I don't love the way they do that, find it a little bit distracting, but otherwise it's nice to have the third row here, and I especially like that there are ISO latches for your child seat. So yes, this is a wonderful classic Montreal Expos hat. That's because right now another team from Montreal, the legendary Montreal Canadiens, are in a dogfight in the semifinals of the 2021 Stanley Cup Finals in the NHL. I don't have any Canadiens hats, but this hat is same colors as the Canadiens, from the same cities, or once was from the same city as the Canadiens are. So there you have it. Plus I've got the Canadian socks on, as I can show right here. Here's proof. There you go. And so there you go. Right now they are locked in a battle with the Vegas Golden Knights, or is it the Las Vegas Knights? I don't really know. I don't really care. A team whose existence alone grinds my gears. So I love the Habs. but I would love even more to beat those Vegas nights, whatever you want to call them these days. That would be absolutely awesome. So go Habs go. Tough first game, but they're getting a couple of players back tonight. I think some important pieces. So hopefully that'll turn the tides a little bit. And of course, you never bet against Carey Price. Never. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, so yes, it's big in all those ways we talked about, but we didn't even talk about the power. 603 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque does this GLS63 have, and it has not only big power, but a big voice too. That, especially when it's of the one-man, one-engine variety, as a lot of these AMGs are. So I have to thank my engineer, and I know who it is because he signed the engine plaque in the car here, who seems to be an Italian gentleman or woman, Giuseppe. So thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Giuseppe, for this fantastic 4-liter twin-turbo, bi-turbo in Mercedes speak, V8 with over 600 horsepower. You gotta love that. Especially that you can make it even louder by flipping this loud exhaust button here. That'll please the neighbors. Actually, it did please my neighbors. I asked them and they said, yeah, we'd love to hear the loud exhaust. Sure, because that's kind of the deal here. I mean, this thing is big, it's ostentatious, and in fact, I was talking about those wheels with my neighbor, and I think, did she say, or I think I said, oh, yeah, they're ostentatious, all right. And she asked me, whoa, how's it drive? I go, well, ostentatiously. I'm not sure that's a word, but this thing is ostentatious in every way. It is so fast. It's got a dual clutch automatic transmission. So we talked about grinding gears when it comes to the Vegas nights. No grinding gears here, just instant swapping between cogs and the 9-speed dual clutch. It's got just such quick shift response, way quicker than a vehicle of this size and girth really should or needs to be. I mean, come on, this is a 6,000 pound SUV. Do you actually have to have shift response that is faster than that of a blink of an eye? I don't know, but they're so quick. It's all so quick. And this thing, you want to know how quick? How quick is this thing? Car and Driver tested this, put it through its paces, 0 to 60 miles per hour, which is roughly 0 to 97 kilometers an hour, 3.6 seconds. 3.6 seconds for a nearly 6,000 pound sport utility vehicle. Those aren't just sports car numbers, those are supercar numbers. Modern supercar numbers, not old supercar numbers. Modern supercar numbers. It's crazy. I mean, how do you even do it? Well, I'll tell you how. All that power, twin turbo, V8, big displacement, tons of grip through this Michelin rubber I've got through here, unbelievably quick shifting transmission, super smart computers that shuffle power around to give you the best possible acceleration, unbelievable speed. It's almost unfathomable, seriously. When you think about it, you look at this huge thing, this murked out GLS, and whatever that means. I heard that once. I heard that somewhere. And you go, 3.6 seconds. No way that's as fast as a Porsche 911 to the 60 mile per hour mark, and it's not. I think the 911 is still a bit faster than that. The new 911 is incredibly fast, but still, like, boggles the mind. Now, I don't think I'll ever get that kind of performance. I mean, you need all sorts of, you need the right track to do it on, you need the testing gear and all that kind of stuff, but who really cares? Just no one ever drives is ever going to test that. Just the fact that you can is enough for a lot of people, I think. And even though I can't check it, I can still feel it. Whoa, it just squats back on its rear axle and just goes. I don't need any numbers to tell me how thrilling that is. That's for sure. As far as I could tell, it could do 0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds. I don't know. It's so quick that the numbers are almost meaningless at this point. It's nuts. Nuts. And of course, there's a whole suite of driver aids here: lane centering assist, lane keep assist, adapt for cruise control to 0, as we talked about before with the augmented reality interface, all sorts of really good stuff. And I like how you can kind of play around with all those features from a quick access menu here on the infotainment display. I'd like if there were some hard buttons for some of this stuff, but in lieu of that, they've got this single screen that's got a whole grid with the lane centering, the heads-up display, the park assist system, which, by the way, is one that I'm happy they've got a button to deactivate because it's super sensitive. I find it beeping at me quite loudly, I might add, in situations where I'm looking all around me and I cannot see what possibly could have activated. Was it that pedestrian that's standing 20 feet away over there? Is that what did it? I'm not really sure. It's a little bit overly sensitive for me, and I end up turning it off most of the time. But luckily, that's easy enough to do with these buttons right here. Of course, in addition to all those safety features, you've got a bunch of drive modes as well. You've got all the AMG stuff, you know, Sport, Sport Plus, and all that. Then you've got a comfort mode, individual mode, which allows you to choose different settings for your chassis, your engine, transmission, and so on, and keep it kind of locked that way. And then you've got sand and trail as well, because this is, after all, a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive sport utility vehicle. So you got a whole suite of stuff going on here to play around with, to configure to your heart's content. Me? Sport, thank you very much. Sport Plus is a little bit too intense. Comfort's a little bit too tame. You're in an AMG with 1,000,000 horsepower. You might as well use the Sport mode. And there's no Eco mode, because again, V8, 4 liters, twin turbo. It can go in 4-cylinder mode though, which is cool, but I mean, come on. Eco mode, does all that speak Eco mode to you? Sure doesn't to me. And I'm gonna be honest, when I think of my dream garage, I don't have a lot of SUVs in there. I don't really have any SUVs in there, aside from, like, I don't know, a cool old Land Rover Defender, maybe. I guess that'd be kind of cool to have. Maybe an old Land Cruiser, but no new SUVs, really. In my dream garage, it doesn't really give me the fizz, except for one. This one. Before I even drove it, something about this GLS just did it for me. Actually, I should say before I drove it. I drove an older version of this way back a long time ago. I was at Mosport racetrack, Canadian Tire Motorsport Parks, whatever you want to call it. They have an off-roading course around the outfield there, and Mercedes put us on an off-road course in this kind of luxury 3-row crossover SUV. I mean, the car that they simply called the S-Class of SUVs, GLS. There's also the GLE, which is mid-size vehicle, and then there's GLC and GLA and so on. And so this was a luxury 3-row SUV, and they're taking us on the same off-road course, and right ahead of me was a G-Class Mercedes, you know, the Jeep one. The one that was, you know, the military truck. That's an off-road vehicle with locking differentials and everything. We were on the same roads with this, and it did its thing. I was like, you know what, there's something about that. It was great marketing move by Mercedes to have us all out there, of course. And we weren't in this AMG crazy version. We were in, you know, at the time, I think actually it wasn't even GLS back then. It was GL. It was before it was even called GLS. And we were in stuff like the GL, I guess it would have been GL 550 and stuff like that back then. So we weren't even in the AMG ones, but still, it impressed me. And ever since then, I guess I've kind of had a soft spot. And in my dream garage, it's kind of wedged its way in there. I don't know how much I drive it against, I don't know, the Porsche Panamera Sport Turismo that's also in my dream garage when it comes to family moving. I don't know how much I drive it compared to that, but it's there. It is there. And now that I have driven this AMG version, it's kind of weird because part of me is starting to go, yeah, I can see why you'd have that in your dream garage. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you think about it, the power and the wheels and all that and the looks and so on. But there also is a part that has me going, I don't know. For one, we talked about the weight briefly in the intro, almost 6,000 pounds. This thing is heavy. We talked about the wheels. They're 23 inches, so you've got all that weight. The wheels themselves probably weigh 5,000, they probably weigh 1,000 pounds themselves. I don't know if they're huge, and they do make the ride quite firm. And no matter how much you try to play with the adjustable dampers and all that kind of stuff that I have here, and the drive modes and so on, it never feels quite as soft as the GLS-450 would, for example, and that is a vehicle I have also driven. And so it's never going to feel so. You're going to have some rough patches. I went on a drive with my family in this vehicle. It was about a 45-minute to an hour round trip out to my in-laws in the suburbs, and my wife, let's just say she wasn't sad to get out. I'll put it to you that way. It's not, for her, it wasn't ideal for people moving. It's a very firm vehicle. But if you're buying a vehicle like this, you and your family also, anyway, they should know that you're not getting an ultra luxury cruiser. There's the Maybach version for that, even though that thing, costs $200,000, and this is about only about $160,000 only. But you've got the Maybach one for really smooth, city work. And that's a vehicle I haven't driven, but I've seen reports. So, but you're not going to get that. You're going to get tons of gutsy performance from the depths of the engine bay there. Just so much, just tarmac crushing power. This thing really does have, even though it makes no more power than does the smaller and lighter E63, it's what we said, 3.6 seconds 0 to 60 by car and driver. Like, come on. It's bonkers for a 6,000-pound 3-row crossover SUV. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is insane performance, and that's just the craziness of that alone makes this thing special, in my opinion. I just think it's such a cool take. Now, of course, there are alternatives, but I was surprised to find, price-wise, this isn't as way out there as you'd think. The Bentley Bentayga is going to cost you more. The Cullinan Rolls-Royce obviously is going to cost you more. The Alpina XB7 is closer in price to this. The BMW X7 M50i, also a twin-turbo V8, is also less money than this is, but this one isn't as, and then there's the Maybach for $200,000 plus, whatever it is. This isn't as stratospherically expensive when compared to the competition as I thought it would be for a, full-bore AMG version of this vehicle. You could probably thank the existence of that Maybach for the pricing here, because they couldn't very well move this thing to within $5,000 of the Maybach. Who would buy either one? It's either too cheap if it's the Maybach, or it's too expensive if it's the AMG one, you'd think. So, I was surprised to find that out. Yeah, you'll get similar power for way less money from the likes of a Durango SRT Hellcat, for example. You will, but I mean, come on, that is nowhere near as civilized, even though this does have a fur ride and so on, still more civilized than that is, with the massaging seats and the wood grain interior and the Burmester audio and all the great leather it uses and all that kind of stuff, and that fantastic chrome treatment and all, like on the speaker grills and the seat controls and the door, which is here, which I love, one of my favorite details when it comes to Mercedes interiors. You don't get all that with the Durango, obviously. The Durango's a cool vehicle, but I don't know. I mean, just if you want a hot rod, you get a Durango. If you want hot rod luxury, but with a nice twist of luxury, I guess you go with this one. I mean, no one's going to call this a hot rod probably, but when you talk about the performance, it's roughly around that of the likes of the Durango, which is probably a faster truck, I would say. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but with all that power, it's God, you can only imagine. So it's not as out there when it comes to the competition, which really kind of surprised me. And the question, of course, is always going to be, would I have this, or would I have the E63, which has the same engine, but obviously less room inside, but it's lighter, handles a bit better, and it's a wagon, an SUV, and would I have this over the S63, for example, sedan? Well, I mean, that's the S-Class of sedans. That's the S-Class of SUVs. That's a hard call. Hard to compare this with the S-Class, really. You got to really compare with that E-Class. And I love the E63 wagon. You'll see a video of that on my channel soon. I do love the E63 wagon. It's really hard to kind of move me from that. So I don't know if I would take this over that, to be honest. I'm just, as I said before, I'm just not a huge SUV guy, performance or otherwise. It's just not in my DNA, I guess. It's not what I liked as much. So probably not. However, if I had two cars already, and I needed a third one for people moving or something like that, well, this then comes into play. And don't kid yourself. A lot of people buying this vehicle do have 3 cars or more. So, I mean, and of course, you know, you've got that bonus. Maybe you've had the E63 for a while, and now you've got a third kid or a second kid, and it's time for something a little bit bigger, but you still want that performance, then you go with the GLS. I think I'd still find a way to suck it up, kid. You're going in the back of the wagon. That's just the way it is. But that's me, again. But this is cool. This is cool, and it's done justice to my wanting it in my dream garage, I think. Now that I've driven it and I've experienced it, yeah, it deserves a spot there. It's still in there. It's still in there for sure. Such a cool truck. Such a bonkers truck, really. I mean, Mercedes, they buttoned down a little bit on the outside, less so this off those wheels, but on the inside, those guys are bonkers, man. Mercedes is bonkers. The stuff they do with their big, fast vehicles is like no other out there. No other out there builds fast, big stuff like this. Not that has the same sense of occasion inside. Yeah, again, the Dodge products, many of which probably aren't long for that world, let's be honest. The Dodge SRT products are very fast and big and all that kind of stuff too, but I mean, it's nothing like this. And the BMWs, you always get that feeling they're a little kind of like, yeah, we want to show that we have power, but we're more about the handling and the nimbleness of our vehicles. That's what we're about at BMW. We don't want to be known necessarily, at least this is my opinion. I don't know BMW as the big cruisers. That's not what they do, even though they have big stuff like the Grand Coupe M6, another video you'll see soon on my channel, by the way, and stuff like that. They will have, they do have that, but there's still more, I think, about the handling. This is just all about brute force, and with a great touch of luxury inside. That's pretty awesome. A pretty awesome combination. Anyway, I hope you found this video pretty awesome. If you do like it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If not, no hard feelings. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at DanTheWheelman and on Instagram at DanTheWheelman as well. Look for a full review and pics of this 2021 Mercedes-Benz AMG GLS63 4MATIC on auto123.com sometime soon. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, sayonara, folks. Go have go.